Hi everyone, hi Ronan. So
Hi,
here
Ronan.
we are, the second episode of our podcast, and I wanted to know how are you feeling now that we released the first episode, that we are really doing this. How do you feel about it?
I am ecstatic, Kalas, and actually, I want to make a little disclaimer because, of course, me and you have a long way of exploring these systems, these ancient wisdom systems that embrace love, that embrace intimacy. And of course, our friends and colleagues that are in the same system are the first ones to support us and to come up with beautiful suggestions. And I just want to disappoint them, if you allow allow me from the beginning. So, dear friends, you already have so much information. You have so many initiations. You have wisdom. You have practice. We are trying with this podcast to reach everybody else that didn't yet reach to know the things and the wonderful experiences that you have. And so we are not really targeting you. It will not speak of concepts of spirituality and deep, strange Sanskrit words. We are going to keep it super simple. We are going to speak in a way that we hope will bring more people to that state of open eyes with wonder, really wishing and aspiring to discover what you have already discovered. So forgive us for keeping it very simple and very down to earth. It's with the best of intentions, and we hope it will reach a positive outcome in the end. We think it will. Stick around.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I totally subscribe to that. And I wanted you to introduce this second chapter by reading a bit the title and also maybe some quotations from the book.
Yeah, so the second book has a very, very special title. It says that, and already a little bit intimate, it says erotic exaltation induces beneficial states of deep trance, triggering ecstatic states. So it's a very simple sentence, but erotic exaltation induces, already the first part, erotic exaltation, most people will not understand what that means. We know, again, and our colleagues that are already exploring Tantra, Taoism, they know what erotic exaltation is. Most people will translate that to a very small experience they have when they have pleasure making love. So it's necessary to reach erotic exaltation to receive these states of deep trance. Trance, literally, like I think many people nowadays have tried some, I don't know, you go to a festival and you have trance music, or some people take drugs. There is altered states of consciousness, of awareness. And what this title says is that through the intimacy of the relationship, you can actually get into these states of trance, kind of a change level of perception that triggers ecstasy. That is one of our favorite words in this podcast. That triggers what we spoke about last time, states of ecstasy. And this sentence is brilliant. And I'll just read a couple of sentences from here. We'll not get, again, deep into the esoteric, spiritual concepts, just to have a context for us to talk to you. So it says, since times immemorial, even when people had no idea about the mysteries of love, they didn't know the secret of transfiguration, big keyword here. They didn't know about love making with continents, another big key here. So, even without knowing any of this, men and women already loved each other. It's a good start. There's hope, even if we don't know anything. And then it also says a bit further down in the chapter, nowadays, it is obvious for most people that the mysterious energy of love, which comes from God the Father, has never and will never have limits or frontiers. Love is beyond. And I want to read one more, Kalas, if you allow me. I know I'm talking already for
Yeah,
you.
sure.
Because it's related to the beginning, to how do you reach the states of ecstasy. And I think this is a good point for us to start our discussion. It says like this in a part of the chapter. The essential precondition for these states of erotic ecstasy is a state of exemplary mutuality. So, fervent, unconditional self giving to each other. I'll just put it in context. So, it says that for us to be able to reach these states of high ecstasy, these beneficial, amazing states that brings us the biggest of fulfillments, before that, as a precondition, we must have mutuality. We have to be basically, in common language, in the same page. We have to kind of be in a way that we are unconditionally giving ourselves to each other, and it has to be mutual. It cannot work if I give and you are not giving. So this, I think, is a good starting point for our debate and our discussion today, because even some of our colleagues know that it's not so easy to create a state of mutuality where we are actively contributing to making each other ecstatic and happy. So what do you think about this, Carlos?
It touches also how we ended last episode, right? So this capacity to really give ourselves to the other one and to be focused on this state of giving. So this is so important because I feel that when one stops giving, the mutuality stops. And then it's not going to work. As much as we know esoteric knowledge, techniques, and we try to apply them, if we don't have this base of having a relationship based on mutual love and that we both are engaged, actively nourishing with this state of love and self-giving the relationship itself, it's not going to work for any of what we are talking here. So that's really something super important for us to be aware, first of all, and then to actively nourish, to actively do something about it.
I totally agree. And for me, it tells me something that for me is very precious. It's something that is more subtle, but I think everybody has this experience. You know, when you are in the day, when you're quite okay, nothing's happening, you're not ecstatic, but you're also not sad, you're just okay. And a friend of yours comes by who is really having one of those very bad days. And just by, contacting with that friend, something heavy comes into you, even maybe just in your subconscious, but there is a heaviness. So we kind of influence each other. Okay, if you've been in a couple relationship, you know that some days you are okay and all it takes is your beloved to raise an eyebrow or say a little more snacky comment and there you go. Now you go down. So this mutuality in love is for me one of the most magical things which most couples overlook. I feel, and this is extremely strange for me, that many couples consider it a virtue to treat the relationship as their emotional garbage can. In situations where you are with people you don't care that much about, they are not so intimate to you, like workplace or you go to a store, whatever, you control your emotions. You behave decently. But then with the person that is the most important person in the world for you, for your heart, for your evolution, for your wherever you are, to that person, you really give the worst. And you consider that a virtue. You consider that, oh, it's because we are so intimate, I can put all my rubbish on him or on her. No, you can share your difficulties, your struggles, but not dumping it emotionally as rubbish. That doesn't create a mutuality that brings you to ecstasy. It usually creates a mutuality because if he or she starts to do the same, you go on the other direction, and guess where the relationship will be after a few times? In rubbish. It will not be a very ecstatic, transcendent, deep trust relationship. So I think this point is very curious to see how we were convinced that it was a sign of virtue that I can be my worst in front of that person instead of me doing my best to, for that specific person, show my absolute best, which is how, as you know, we do it in the Tantric Book.
Yeah, and also, when you are in a relationship with someone, you're so connected at so many levels that everything that you do is some way, somehow influencing the other one. So we should be super aware of actually what we are contributing to the relationship, even with our own state. If I have a date with my lover and I go super tired, in a super bad state from work, very stressed, it will not be a quality date for us. I should also not go there in a super bad shape, super unprepared, and expect him to lift me up, him to balance the equation. And of course, we always will have days that we are not in our best shape. That's not the point. But that at least we try to be mindful of our own state and what we are offering to the relationship, to aim to offer the best. to know that every choice that I make, every emotion I cultivate, even thoughts, are influencing also the person that I am with at some extent. And this changed completely since I'm in the couple relationship I am now with my lover, to be aware of this, that every small decision that I make in life has also an impact on his happiness, on his level of fulfillment. And so to aim to always do the best, even the way I eat, for example, how I take care of my health, how I take care of my state of well-being, of being, relaxed, expanded, happy, joyful, so that when I enter the room, when I share a moment with him, even at distance, how he feels me at distance, that I am in the best shape I can be, and offering the best environment, the best resonance, the best energy that I can offer to him, to the relationship, and to myself through that.
Exactly. And if you allow me, I would comment on something you said there. Because I think that is one of the most easy and magnificent secrets. For instance, the chapter speaks about achieving these erotic states of ecstasy, right? And that happens, or let's put it in another way, for that to happen, for sure, something has to be done a little bit different than people are used to do. If you are used to being in intimacy like 90% of the world is, when you finish that intimacy, you're not in an ecstatic, elevated state. Usually you are sleepy, or usually you are like, relaxing. You're not effusive, you're not effervescent after. So what we are saying literally, and not only from theory, but from both me, Kalas, and many, many people's experience, is that there is a way where you go in mutuality into the intimacy of the relationship, where we actually raise each other. We don't consume each other and then stay there recovering or watching TV or what things people do. There is ways of living the couple relationship that are mysterious and absolutely magnificent, that move you up instead of moving you down. And once you have this mutuality, I feed you, you feed me, we are raising each other, our whole life changes. Many couples after 10 years of relationship, the worst part of the day is to go back home to that person who will annoy me and tell me I didn't take out the trash and I didn't wash the dishes. So this is in a common relationship. In a spiritually enriched relationship that is conscious and built for ecstasy, it's the best part of your day. You cannot wait. Before you go home, you already have 3 pictures on your phone with some eyes and some beautiful makeup, and you are already preparing for that moment when you go to see each other finally again. And so this mutuality creates how to call it, Carla, a resonance, a vibration that creates an emotion that is constantly growing. And then with that gigantic emotion, you go into your intimate life with your beloved, and there you enter these higher states. I don't know if you want to unveil a bit more of the what I'm talking about. I leave it up to you, Kalas.
Yes, I wanted to share a bit that before I knew about all these aspects, I could have these very pleasurable, intimate moments and perhaps even have, a state of orgasm and feel very expanded with my lover or with the person I was with, sharing that intimate moment. But in the end, I always remained with a certain sense of emptiness lingering inside. Like it was this, it might look very effervescent in an external way, and we are doing all kind of different positions, and even having some state of pleasure, but it would end with this feeling of being disconnected, and of a sense of emptiness inside, which of course I think we try to camouflage it and we just jump into something else and we start, I don't know, scrolling on the phone, or we go and cook because we're also hungry, or we jump to the next action and we might not be aware of that state, but if we stay with it for a bit, it was something that I noticed, that it was always kind of present in the background. And when I started to be much more mindful of that, of creating relationships which are actually not just based on attraction, but on love, and share these intimate moments as a gateway, as a path to ecstasy, as you were saying, then through being super connected and having this mutuality in love and in that action, then I never felt empty again afterwards. So there was this sense of deep fulfilling, even if we would go apart, like, okay, it ended, I don't know, he goes to his place and I stay alone in my place, crystallizing the whole experience. But there is this sense of being full, of being so fulfilled. It was so amazing, even if I wouldn't see him again, so to speak, It was so ecstatic and so amazing because it comes from this level of depth in the way you live the experience. It's not at the surface, as we spoke also on the previous episode. So it's a completely different experience when it's based on this mutual love. And then, yes, I think we can talk about eros, we can talk about this ecstatic trance that we can reach when we create this dynamic with someone that, we make each other feel safe, we make each other feel loved, feel pleasure, we offer the best to the other one, both of us together. And like this, we are creating the right environment for this huge vortex of energy, for this huge, amazing experience to unfold and to happen, which before I was not at all even grasping how this could be.
Well, I have a very rational, analytical mind. So for me, the first steps was to understand. Like I needed to understand, and I want to recommend this because I have situations where friends or clients tell me, "Oh yeah, I'll go to one of those workshops when I have a partner. Oh yeah, I'll read some books about love when I have a partner." Well, it doesn't work like that. If you want to be able to run the marathon, you should start training. You should start now. Or okay, bad analogy because a marathon is a solo sport. But if you want to be able to play tennis, play sometimes against the wall before you even if you don't have a partner yet to play with. So it's extremely valuable to learn. And I started learning, let's say, and the biggest change for sure. So I think I don't know if I can convey in a fair way how it feels to somebody who never had these states of expanded consciousness and awareness. But what you were saying it now, and I was just remembering that it lasts not only afterwards. I stay for 3-4 days in this kind of Zen mode of joy and stability inside. My emotions are all aligned. My thoughts are very clear. It's just a very, very beautiful state that stays for sometimes quite a few days, sometimes at least 1-2 days, I think is the minimum. And it's so delightful. It's so natural. I mean, it's not like you're taking some drug to go have hallucinations. It's just love. And we said in the first chapter, and it's maybe too early for people to understand what it means, but love does expand you from the finite to the infinite. It does bring your consciousness, does bring your perceptions way, way higher than most people imagine. And nowadays, finally, when we started this 10, 15 years ago, it was kind of a niche of people knowing, but nowadays you have even shows on worldwide television, like this show by Gwyneth Paltrow, where she explores all these different nuances of eroticism and of love, and shows on TV people who can have these states of ecstasy just with a touch or with something, So it starts to become a more common ground experience for the world to understand that there is something more to find out. It's not just about this goes there and wow, we are done.
Well, as you know, this whole part of the art of sacred lovemaking, as I like to call it, it's something very dear to me. And I really see this intimate interaction, this erotic interaction, we can call it, with the one we love as a spiritual practice, as actually a tool for our self-knowledge, for our spiritual growth, for also increasing the level of intimacy within a couple relationship, Do you know there are so many experiments of people that were put in front of each other, so in a chair in front of each other, and they were together for many, many years. Yeah, so they knew each other. They looked at each other many times. But they said, okay, so now you just look at each other and you don't talk. You don't talk, you don't look the other way. You just really dive into each other's eyes, just like that. And you know what was the result? You can imagine, right? So many people were extremely uncomfortable. So they realized, even though it's the person that is always there next to us somehow, that familiarity is not necessarily synonym of intimate. So they were not actually intimate to the point where they could really just dive into this place of profound connection and stay there comfortable because they trust, because they feel, accepted as they are, and they can just be instead of kind of being agitated and not going there, not going to that level of depth, staying at the surface, as we keep saying. And now experiencing with this awareness, it's incredible because I really feel that the other one becomes part of me. So when you are in that dynamic, it's kind of a physical union that represents a deeper wish, I would say, of our heart, of our soul, something that is here present, even if we are not fully aware, of wishing to become one again. And there is this wish that the other becomes part of me and we become one together. And it's super fascinating to see like how when we are making love with this present, that we even start to feel empathically what the other one is feeling. Sometimes I can even have the perception of hearing his thoughts, because we are so connected. Like, in a conversation when we are talking and you finish each other's sentences, you know what he's about to say or she's about to say. And it's just a reflection of this phenomena when you start to become one with the other one. And creating this base and having this complete trust in him that I can just surrender. And through that eros, through that intensity, through that erotic fusion, I can also dive deeper into myself. So it's not just an externalized experience, but something that actually brings me to connection, brings me to my essence, to my heart, to my body. And through being fully present in the present moment, through feeling that safe environment where I can, just like a flower, open up, I would so easily enter into these states of profound ecstasy, in states of what are even called samadhi in the yogi tradition, right? So these altered states of consciousness, where we feel like we even expand from us to the whole universe, like a state of fusion with everything that exists. I don't want to sound too esoteric, but you know this feeling when you are like so alive, so expanded, so full, so like blossoming, really like a flower, that your consciousness goes way beyond what you usually know it's possible, even to feel or to experience.
I actually had a recent experience with trying to convey this, what I could not do it as you do. It's so beautiful how you explain now. I was just, I was becoming the flower blossoming inside of me, because you describe it with so much, authenticity. It comes from inside of it, from your experience. That's, I think, the most enriching we can have. I was recently on a lecture, which was about levels of consciousness. And the speaker on that lecture, he spoke about the higher levels of consciousness, these levels of bliss, of love, the level of enlightenment, because they did talk about it in a scientific way in that lecture. But they put it in a way like, oh, but these levels here, these are for the saints, these are for the people who, the gurus, the people that live in the mountains somewhere and don't exist in our reality. And I was really honestly trying to place there an idea that is not that far away. You can have that experience, but most people create such a mental distance between themselves And these states, they may be seen in a movie or in a book, and in reality, it's extremely similar to what even they depict nowadays in art. So there is this movie, normal movie from superheroes with Doctor Strange. I don't know if you saw that movie, but in this movie, he gets a big problem and he cannot operate anymore, and then he goes to find a guru somewhere in Nepal, if I'm not mistaken, and he goes there with his full mind, arrogance, everything, and starts to say, I don't believe in chakras, I don't believe in nothing. And the guru just shows him how he is outside of his body. So gives him an astral experience, which I find beautiful because most people will see that as fantasy. Oh, yeah, it's a superhero movie. But you, me, and the people who live those realities, we know that's exactly how it is. And now we can actually refer to something that people already know conceptually exists. So exactly like Doctor Strange was kicked out of his body and was seeing reality from another place, what Carlos was describing is how I feel is the best way we can transmit it is there is another way of feeling and it's accessible. It's not somewhere behind a big mountain with a bearded man. It's accessible in the most common and simple place you can find it, in the heart of your beloved, in your own heart, and in the beautiful, intimate interaction you have together, which all of us, in one way or another, search for. We can have a lot of desires, we can have a lot of wants, but deep, deep, deep down inside, one of the most fundamental ones is this one for, as Kala so beautifully put it, connection, for being united. And it's in that unification, it's in that unification that you open the doors for these higher states of perception and love and awareness. So yeah, I just love how you say. Am I allowed to say something more in continuation, or do you want to say something now?
Yeah, no, please.
Because one of the things I think we should approach, it's on the chapter. It's we say this, no? Yes, mutuality, amazing transcendent state, so trance that brings ecstasy. Cool, but that's not my experience at all. When I go there in the mutuality, I don't like what she said. I don't like how we acted yesterday, and there's a lot of things that never open to a wow transcendent state. Why? Well, the chapter talks about that, and I just want to mention it, not to go very deep, but I just want to make sure you guys understand it is never about love. Love will always put you in that state, will always bring you there. The problem is that together with the beautiful resonance, vibration of love, which comes together with all the others we spoke about, the beauty, the desire, the compassion, so all these beautiful things, they are then mixed inside of us because we don't train ourselves to do it right. It's mixed with insecurities, jealousy, arrogance, whatever it is. And we mix this, make a very nice paste there, and that's what we spread on each other when we when we make love. We go there and we it's a bit of love there, but it's also quite a few things that are not so nice. And that's why love sometimes generates suffering. That's why sometimes people have very bad experiences in relationships. It is not because of love. It is because of everything else that we bring and associate inside of us with love. And the process we will go through during the exploration of this book is very much about peeling off all those things that are not related to love, adding a lot of things that are related to love. So it's not only love, we'll put many things there. Already today we start to speak about some stratospheric ideas that for some of you is like, whoa, this goes way above my head. But hold on, we'll take it step by step. Just we are giving the glimpse of where this is going. So it's a process of peeling, removing step by step all the things that are not aligned with love, adding all the things that are aligned, and you, in this life, in your bedroom, not on a mountain, you will have these states. We have these states. A lot of people we know have these states. The joy, the happiness, the fulfillment comes naturally once you have the correct environment. Just like the flower comes naturally once you have the good soil, some sunlight, some water. It just comes. You don't need to pull the seed, the flower out of the seed. It comes. So the same way, love comes, ecstasy comes through having the right environment. And I think this will be a very beautiful path for you, and you can do it. It's not for somebody else, for you.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
so beautiful. You said, no, it's so beautiful because I feel that our nature is to be ecstatic all the time. That's actually who we are, right? But many times we create so many layers, so many even masks, I would say, for all kind of reasons that prevent us from feeling that ecstasy. And I loved when you said also that it's a process also of removing everything that blocks us from that, because it's this expression that in the bedroom we don't just get naked, meaning that we take off our clothes. This type of experience that me and you are talking about here, it's about truly getting naked to the deepest level of our being, so where all the masks fall off. And you need a lot of ingredients for that, not just love. You need, for example, a lot of trust, so that you're safe to show yourself, to actually, bring everything to the surface, because you have a teammate there, let's say. You have someone who is deeply attentive, taking care, connected with you, going through the process with you. So it will never be bad if you feel a burst to cry, for example, and you feel a need to express that and release that emotion. Or you just start laughing. You feel like it's for no reason, but you just feel so happy. And you have someone who is on the boat with you, not someone with whom you will be like, they're super concerned. How are you looking? What is he or she feeling about that? And you transcend the ego, as we say. You transcend those limitations, and you can just let go of everything that stops you from being natural, authentic, connected to your essence. At some point, I'm making love with my lover, and I don't know where I start, where he ends. Like we are just one cosmic movement, diffusing ourselves in the ocean of the universe. And of course, I'm saying this in a very poetic way, but it's difficult, like you said, to describe it when we reach to these cosmic states. But it's a very pleasurable and very amazing way to get there. For example, I think many people try to train with meditation to actually reach a level of concentration, of focus, of deep, profound meditation in order to access to these states. It's something that in lovemaking, if it's done with this awareness, right, with all these ingredients present, we can reach it in a super easy, let's say, and pleasurable way. So why not?
Just like it said in the first chapter, easy and pleasurable transformation.
Yeah. Exactly. And what I love also is that it becomes something that it's more than us. It's more than pleasure, just, and this dynamic. It's something that can actually make us grow, evolve, expand, to then go out of that lovemaking experience and perceive life in a much higher way, in a completely different way, much more expanded than what we had before. So that will affect how we take decisions at work, how we make, even how we decide goals in life, right? How we interact with other people. So it's nourishing and feeding all the other areas of our life just from that one love making experience with all those ingredients present. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and I love, there's this pastor, Mark Gungor, who speaks a lot about relationships from a Christian point of view. And he's very funny. And he usually says that, relationship is the closest to heaven you can get on earth if you do it right. If you do it wrong, it's the closest to the other place, right? And it's exactly what you are saying. So I really wish, Carlos, that this beautiful initiative you're having and this effort to bring things that are in some way quite difficult to explain. I love that you said poetically, because I think that as you get closer and closer to what is most high in this universe, as you get closer and closer to the top of the mountain, words become poetry, and forms become beauty. Everything there has a certain aroma.
Magic.
Yeah, magic. And I think there's no other ways to transmit certain things other than poetry. We have to be metaphorical and poetic because that's the only way you can explain how that nectar tastes like. Because until you taste it, you can only poetize about it and know it like this. I really love that you said now. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you. And I wanted also to bring another point, if you agree, which is also a key important notion in this chapter, which is about what you read, that love actually comes from God. And I wanted us to speak a little bit about that also from our own experience and in this more down-to-earth approach. Because, for example, I don't know about you, but I felt many times that it's easy to get trapped in thinking that we are the source of love to the one we love and that he or she is the source of love. It was also a revolution in my life when I acknowledged the fact that actually love is a universal energy. It's something that exists in the universe, it exists all around us, and we just have to tune into that. But it's not attached, let's say. It's not depending, it's not conditioned, maybe it's the word, to just one person.
Yeah.
That person is actually not the source, but a channel through which that energy is flowing through that person. And we're the same. We will not be the source of that happiness, of that fulfillment, of that love, but we are the ones who are manifesting it by tuning into that. And so this, for me, makes so much sense that even if I feel, for example, in a certain moment in my couple relationship that the other person is not, for example, actively loving me that moment, so I might not feel love in that way. If I, for example, have this gesture of offering love to that person, to offer, I have to connect to love, and I have this direct experience, which I think all of us have somehow, that the source is not that person, that it's always there, and that we can just tune into that.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunately a rare experience. I have been humbled by it also to be able to feel this direct perception of how there's something bigger than myself in that moment even. But it comes back to a fundamental notion, I think, in most spiritual traditions, which is this notion, and you said it very beautifully, of attuning. You said, I attune to something. So it's precisely that. So when you fall in love, you attune to a certain frequency. And while you are attuned to that frequency, that is the music that is playing because your radio is on that frequency. And then you, and only you, can change that attunement to something else. And when we are in a state of mutuality, as we mentioned, what happens is that my attunement and your attunement is in synchronicity. It's how to say, it's amplifying each other. It's two waves that nourish each other and become bigger and bigger and bigger. And so when you have that, then yes, it becomes a very common experience, as you know and I know, inside of spiritual circles, that you realize directly. It's not something you read in the book. You see, oh, there is something else. And for somebody who doesn't have yet these states of mutuality, here's how you can start to experience it. You can, exactly as Carlos said, make a present. It's one of the best examples. It's how I felt it the first time. Just creating something that is good and beneficial for somebody I love. And I actually did it in a moment when I was quite angry at the person I loved. And I was just, by the process of creating the little gift, I attuned from my choice of now contraction and anger, and I'm not happy about what she said and all this, from that to, she actually likes this also, oh, and that's the color she prefers. And suddenly all my system started to vibrate with that energy of loving, of caring, of nourishing. And so, yeah, I think it's a very good beneficial challenge you're posing here for people to start to be attentive. Like, is it really that person who is making me happy? Or is it happiness that pours into me when that person awakens something? Because I like what I see there. And it's not so hard to grasp, considering that The same person that is making you so happy, with one word, can make you extremely unhappy. So something is very easy. The classical joking example is if a man says the name of another woman, it changes very much the interaction in that moment, right? So it doesn't take long. It's just the words. Teresa, but I'm Patricia. So it's not that person. It's always, and this brings so much freedom because as you go deeper and deeper into this, so I made a joke, of course, about this with changing the name, but you can think at work. Somebody says something to you that it's unpleasant. You don't like it. That is what comes to you. That doesn't have to generate anything inside of you. You can choose. For instance, you can choose to be offended, take it personally and fight back, or you can choose to think, did I make a mistake? Because usually this person is quite lucid and quite calm. Why are they angry or criticizing me? And then it's totally different, your reality inside. They didn't produce it. They are just giving a stimuli, an impulse, and you, the more you become free, you can choose what happens inside of you. You can choose how you attune. And as you gain this freedom, you realize that you can actually choose to attune to love independently of the other one. So it's not dependent on that person. What Carlos was saying, it's not dependent on one person, not attached to that one person. It's attached to the universe, let's say. It's an antenna somewhere in the cosmos that is emitting continuously without stopping. Love, love, love. But then some people go, hey, yeah, but what's the other antenna? I want to see more things. And yeah, you get rubbish. But you can, and it's a very big, beautiful possibility. Choose love. Train yourself to do this. Train yourself to become aware. It's not because of him or her. It's my choice. Because he can also do something beautiful. She can do something beautiful. And because I'm in one of those days, maybe I react different. So it's obviously not about them. They might be doing the same thing they said they did a year ago. It's not the same result. I am the one choosing what comes. And yeah, this is very high level stuff, Carlos. Very good that you put it here.
Yeah, I think it's so important because it's an energy, we can call it, that never ends and it's all the time available. So it's really, like you said, it's just up to us to choose to tune in. And that's so beautiful. And I think once we realize it, we are actually much more closer to experience true freedom because that's where freedom starts. So I just wanted to perhaps end this podcast of today with this idea and giving a bit of homework to everyone who is listening to us to try to experience that.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Because one of our beautiful teachers once gave a very esoteric technique to achieve this. She called it the really technique. So whenever something happens, good or bad towards you, take 1 second to say, really? And then decide how you interpret that, good or bad, so that you start to realize that there is something happening for sure, but what comes inside of you, you can choose. That is, oh, really? This really happened? You are really saying that? Is this really what you feel? So you just go, really? Instead of automatically responding good or bad. Take it for everything. Really?
So, 2 homeworks.
Really?
Thank you so much, Ronan, and I see you in the next episode.
Thank you, Carla. See you.